what have you done all day? How come when I come home, I'm the one who has to be at work all day? Now I got to come and I got to clean the house all day. Why do I have to do this? And why can't you do your fair share? Why can't you clean up after yourself and clean up after the kids? It's not that hard.
Yes, I remember those days. Welcome to the Secure Marriage Podcast, where we believe it's possible to fight less, feel understood, and enjoy a deeper connection with your spouse. We're your hosts, Paul and Shannon Elmore, and on today's episode, what to do when you think your spouse is being lazy.
One take
wonder, baby.
Wow. You are the stuff.
I know.
Can we go back in time today?
Sure, let's do that.
Let's go back in time. Do you remember when we had 4 little kids and you were exhausted?
Do I remember?
And I was exhausted. And I would come home from work and I would be frustrated with you. I would be disappointed. I would be frazzled because I'd been at work all day and I came home and you had been home all day and the house was a disaster. It was just a mess. And I was constantly frustrated with you because it's like, what have you done all day? How come when I come home, I'm the one who has to be at work all day? Now I got to come and I got to clean the house all day. What have you been doing all day?
Yes, I remember those days.
That's the question that was in my head. What have you been doing all the day? Why do I have to do this? And why can't you do your fair share? Why can't you clean up after yourself and clean up after the kids? It's not that hard. This is the thinking that was going on in my head. If I was home and I was watching the kids, I could keep the house clean. I could keep the kids entertained. I could keep the diapers changed and the floors picked up and all those other things. And I was really critical of you.
You were. And the hardest part about it was you didn't understand that I wasn't just home doing nothing all day. But I think the bigger part of it is that it really, your thoughts and feelings about it really fed into a piece of me that was already there of not being good enough.
I know that contributed to that for sure.
And so that was really hard. So you'd come home and I'd be tired just from being around the kids all day long and having someone asking something of me every moment of the day, all day long, and picking up 100,000 times. And by the time you'd get home, the house would be messy again, and I wouldn't have had time to clean the dishes because I had one baby who wouldn't let me put him down for more than 5 minutes. And then you'd come home and have this attitude of, why can't you do it? How come I have to do it? And it would just make me feel like I was so not good enough. Like, I'll never measure up to whatever standards he has me held to.
As you're describing that right now, I feel really bad.
Oh no.
I have sorrow, honey. Aww. I am so sorry that I that I treated you that way and made you feel that way because it is so unbelievably unfair of me and unkind of me, and I fully admit that I did that to you. That sucks.
Right.
I can't believe I was that dumb. I was that unaware. I was that uninformed. No one ever taught me how to do that.
Right.
But I still made you feel bad.
Right. And I think thank you, honey. Thanks for feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
Well, it was just you and your sister growing up. Mm-hmm. And you guys were 7 years apart. Mm-hmm. So kind of only one infant or little one at a time.
Yep.
And I think your mom definitely is wired differently than I am. Sure. And your house probably stayed clean all the time. I have no idea. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't.
I never even paid attention as a kid. The condition of the house never once entered my mind.
See, and that's what I always thought, that your mom just always had the house perfect. So that's why you expected me to be able to keep the house perfect.
It was less about that and more about, why am I the one who has to come home now and clean this? I've been at work all day and now I have to come home and do this, and you're just laying around doing nothing.
Watching TV and eating bonbons?
I didn't put the bonbon part in there, but it did feel like like you weren't doing your fair share. It absolutely felt like you weren't doing your fair share and you were taking advantage of me. I admit that. Aww. That was my stuff, my insecurities. And as we're talking, I'm just writing some notes here because what I realize now and, since then is my whole focus is completely on task. If I would have been home with the kids and you would have been off at work, I could have kept the house clean. I could have kept the stuff done, but I would have had to ignore the kids to do it. I wouldn't have been relating to the children. And you were very clear that you would rather relate to the children and have a messier house than have a clean house and ignore the kids. And I never put that 2 and 2 together that you were prioritizing until, again, years later when it's like, oh, our kids are actually well adjusted. Not because you kept the house clean, but because you engaged with them, you played with them, you held them when they needed it, and you didn't get the dishes done. You were present. You were emotionally present with them.
Right.
And I completely and totally missed that when I was in the midst of it with you.
Well, and the other thing too is you are have a harder time relaxing when the house is a mess.
Huge, absolutely. That's still true.
Yes, and that's still true. So that probably played into it some as well. It's like you wouldn't be able to come home and just relax. You'd have to come home to this mess where you just have to either sit in it and be uptight and uncomfortable or take care of it yourself.
Yeah.
And that was the only two options that I think you had it, as opposed to saying, hey, let me play with the kids while you can do whatever it is that you need to do or get done.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that we worked through that piece for you was when cell phones became available.
Yeah. That tells you when this is being, this is the whole thing coming down, is that we got a cell phone. Old school Nokia, not even a flip phone, old school kind of brick phone.
Was you... Either I would call you or you would call me on your way home, and I would just let you say, today was a very busy day and the house is a mess.
Yes.
So just be prepared for that when you get home.
Huge.
And
huge thing, because it changed my expectations.
Right, exactly. So that when you were on your way home, you could prepare for like, okay, this is what I'm walking into. Oh, Shannon had kind of a crazy rough day with the kids or whatever. And you could just be prepared for that. And that took away that whole piece of me worrying about when you got home, how you were going to respond to me, what was the feel or the vibe that was going to walk into the house. So that helped me out as well.
You also did one other thing that worked really well. Do you remember what the other additional piece was?
I don't.
You cleared a path from the door, from the front door to our bedroom door. And sometimes it literally looked like you took a broom and just sweeped everything off into piles, like you're plowing snow, except it was piles of Legos and toys and underwear and stuff like that.
Right.
So I could just walk from the door to our bedroom, and that little thing right there, it was less about, walking through the house, but it was more about you
being aware,
were understanding of what I was needing, and the fact that you were going, I still want to try to be aware of my husband's heart, his emotional state, and what he needs. And so I'll do this one little thing.
Right.
And that made me feel not taken advantage of anymore, because you were looking out for me. You're looking out for my needs. And then I could shift and give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And say, the house is really, really messy. Tell me about your day.
Right.
Rather than accuse you of, what have you been doing all day? And that huge benefit of the doubt is what started to change a lot of this for us.
Right. And I think probably a couple different times I would actually walk you through my day.
Yeah.
And I think your eyes would get big, like, oh wow, okay, this is not as sit around as I think it
Black
is.
and white and as simplistic. And I also never understood the different dynamics of how the kids related to you versus how they related to me.
Yes.
I don't have bosoms. I didn't have the capacity to feed our kiddos. So when I held them, I got to play. When you held them,
It was all business.
It was getting down to work because
Right.
you had to feed them, and then you were tired and your body was responding to that.
Right.
Because you were, generating all this food. And so there was those dynamics I was unaware of and again, hurt you because of
Right.
my lack of clarity or understanding around that.
Right. I think the other piece that neither one of us actually probably recognized or knew is my high sensitivity.
Huge.
So
Big time.
being around kids and I love our kids. It wasn't that I didn't love them and I wasn't even aware of this, but just being around them all day long with no breaks and constantly having someone touching me, loud noise, just all these sensations, stimuli all day long was extremely draining for me. Really, really difficult. More so than, and I could never figure out how come I just didn't enjoy being a mom as much as I thought that I should.
Yeah.
Or why I would get tired so easily.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm high sensitive and all that stimuli all day long
Just
really took it out of me.
Yeah.
So to have to even have the capacity to say, okay, I've taken care of the kids all day long and I still need to get this other stuff done. And on a day when I might have 3 kids who threw a fit because for whatever reason, that just would even magnify it more. So
we're talking about this topic today because, oh no, we lost one light. That one's going out in about 30 seconds.
you think so?
Yeah.
There.
Hold, please. Recording. Okay.
Ooh. That's like tang.
Tang. I'd really like a tang.
tang.
That's from another one of our favorite movies. Down with Love. Ewan McGregor and Renee Zellweger. Superb movie. Anyway, you'll notice a difference in the lighting because one of our lights just ran out of batteries.
Yeah.
So bear with us. We're talking about this right now because in the last 10 years of clients and so this topic has come up between husbands and wives, especially young husbands and wives who have small kids just like we did.
Right.
And it is not uncommon for the person who is out of the house doing the work and the person who's staying at home or has the primary responsibilities of watching the kids to feel that pressure from the other person. Like, what are you doing all day? How come you can't do more? And there's that real significant lack of understanding of what that person's going through while watching the kids at home. Because we have gone through it. I'm hoping that this will be a chance for some other people to hear a different perspective and understand how to be understanding and empathetic towards their spouses when they are unfairly accusatory. This is also why it's so important to give your spouse the benefit of the doubt, because when you come in accusing or assuming that their day has been a certain way or they've been behaving in a certain way, that accusatory tone is the most cancerous aspect you have between two people versus a curious tone. I'm going to assume you haven't been lazy. I'm going to assume you haven't been taking me for granted. I'm going to assume that you are contributing. Help me understand. Clarify that for me. Let me get on the same page. That benefit of the doubt is also grace. It is saying you're not a terrible human being. This isn't a competition. I'm not better than you and you're not better than me. That would be a little contempt in there as well. And so when you give each other the benefit of the doubt, you can now have a much more productive conversation and understand that. And that's eventually what led us to being able to get this resolved between the two of us, is because we listened to each other. You were able to explain to me and I was able to explain to you my feelings and expectations.
The other thing too is that you want to build connection.
Yeah.
And you haven't been together all day long. And the first thing that happens when you see each other after not being together is this accusations or accusing or how come you can't. And it's like, okay, well, don't even come and hug and kiss me because I don't feel connected to you at all. Now I feel hurt by you and blamed. And if it feeds into one of those things that a spouse already may feel about themselves, it just seeds that in even more. That's not the right word. It just
cements it in.
Cements it even more.
Yeah.
That those things that they feel about themselves. Oh, well, see, my husband believes that about me, or my wife believes that about me, so it must be true.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you really want to be able, if you can come in with that curious, okay, tell me about your day, benefit of the doubt piece.
Right.
You build connection as opposed to distance.
Yeah. If this is something you're experiencing in your relationship, if that lack of benefit of the doubt and you're fighting over who's contributing more, who's doing more or less in the relationship, if you're constantly in conflict over that, then again, we've put together some resources to help you start talking through these issues so that this doesn't have to be this cancerous, toxic, destructive tone between you and your spouse. You can find those resources at 5minutemarriagemakeover.com. Again, the number 5minutemarriagemakeover.com. And in there we have 3 free videos that are 5 minutes each. And they're going to teach you how to fight less, feel understood, and enjoy a deeper connection with your spouse. And then you'll also get access to some other resources to start you on this process to get more connected with your spouse and to get these fights and these conflicts resolved as fast as humanly possible. We want you to have a secure marriage just like we have a secure marriage, and we've been working on it for years and years and years. We don't have it perfect yet. In fact, I tell my wife all the time, we don't have a perfect marriage, but
we do have a secure marriage.
And we want you guys to have one too. So 5 Minute Marriage Makeover is where you can start that. Or you can write in with your own specific issues that you have about your relationship to podcast@securemarriage.com. Send in your question and we'll throw together a podcast answering your questions so you don't have to wander around in the dark trying to figure out what to do about this. We want to get you as many answers as quickly as possible. Other than that, thanks for listening today.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show this week. If you want to find out how you can build your own secure marriage, go to securemarriage.com. And if you have a chance, subscribe to our show on iTunes or however you get your podcast, and leave us a review while you're there. You can also write us at podcast@securemarriage.com or follow us on Facebook. We're Paul and Shannon Elmore, and you've been listening to the Secure Marriage Podcast, where we believe it's possible to fight less, feel understood, and enjoy a deeper connection with your spouse. Ready? Mm-hmm. Here we go. I got a bit of a frog. Oh, there went the other light.
There's the other one. All right.
I have a bit of a frog,
That's
so
okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Sexy frog.
A sexy frog. Well,
I like your voice when it's a little raspy like that.
Welcome to the Secure Marriage Podcast.
Yes. That's a whole different podcast. I'll listen to that one.
Welcome to the Secure Marriage Modcast. Welcome to the Secure Marriage Podcast, where we believe it's possible to fight less, feel understood, and enjoy a deeper connection with your spouse. We're your hosts, Paul and Shannon Elmore, and on today's episode, what to do when you think your spouse is being lazy.
One take
wonder, baby.
Wow. You are the stuff.
I know.
So you can't drink. Oh man.
Here's the problem. I was going to take a drink and I was like, no, I want to say something first, and I didn't get it to stop fast enough.
Oh my honey. Oh damn. You are super funny. Super funny.